Talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside. Non-stop rock talk. It's non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside.
Welcome to Nonstop Rock Talk. I am your host, Tyson Bryden. On today's show, I happily welcome renowned bass player and songwriter, Phil Soussan. Phil, welcome to the show. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Thank you, Tyson. Thank you for having me on this show. It's great to be here.
Awesome. As I was preparing for this interview, I kept thinking about your long career and how that played into myself as a music fan. Now, of course, we'll start with the Ultimate Sin Ozzy album. And then from there, Beggars and Thieves, which was a band that I really dug. Oh. Billy Idol. And then there was Black Plague, which is, for people that don't realize, was the band in the movie Fort Fairlane, which you were in, and Vince Neil was the singer. You guys did the Rock and Roll Junkie song by Motley Crue, and he was Bobby Black, and he gets murdered. And it was funny. I tried to look that movie up to watch it, and I could not find it anywhere.
Really?
Yeah. Like I couldn't find it on streaming, nothing, not even on YouTube. They just had clips because I wanted to watch it again. I hadn't seen it in so long.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of really good people in that movie. A lot of big names. Wayne Newton and Priscilla Presley and Robert Englund, and who else was in there? Lots and lots of people. But I mean, I'm surprised. I do get residual checks from it.
Do you really?
Not huge residual checks, but I do get them, which means it must be playing somewhere. But wow, I'm surprised. I didn't know.
Yeah, I found a trailer of it, and it showed all those people, and I was like, it was almost like a Naked Gun type of thing with all these people that were in it, like the slapstick comedy. Like it was kind of went that way, and the soundtrack was great. And I mean, I remember it coming out and being excited because I was, as a Motley Crue fan, Vince being in the movie, and then you guys as a band in it. And I just thought that was it was a cool part to the movie because it kind of incorporated Andrew Dice Clay with the rock and roll thing, right?
Absolutely. And there was two sort of connections to that movie. One, of course, was the Rock and Roll Junkie, was the Black Plague band.
Yeah.
And after that, I mean, it was, you're invited, but your friend can't come, where the trailer had a lot of sort of parallel similarities.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. Now I do want to talk a little more about that, but I'll keep going. And we just mentioned You're Invited, but Your Friend Can't Come from the Encino Man soundtrack, which you played on. And then, but you're also doing The Last in Line, and I understand you have a solo album in the works called Cosmo Fights?
Cosmo Fighter.
Cosmo Fighter.
Yeah. I need to speak to somebody about this because I'm getting all kinds of combinations of those words. Like somewhere it's not really clear. I don't know where that happened.
Yeah.
But I think it might have happened with a press agent or something. It's called Cosmo Fighter in the singular. It's a single person. And yeah, it's a very exciting record. And I'm looking forward to releasing it. In fact, I'm working right now on... No, not right now. I'm working on a session right now, but as soon as I finish the session, I'm working on a video for the first single. So
cool. When's the album supposed to come out?
I'm not sure. I think it really depends. It depends on having all our ducks in a row. The way that it works for your listeners, you don't just create a record and then put it out. You sort of have to create a record, and then you have to prepare all the assets. And the assets would include things like photo shoots, photographs, press, announcements, bios, all of that stuff, videos for the singles, so that everything is pretty much ready to go. And at that point, you can sort of count forward a certain amount of time, lead up time. Ideally, you want to go, ideally you want to go like 10 weeks after that point when everything is ready. Sometimes, we don't have the luxury of time, and sometimes you do.
Yeah.
So, if you sort of take all of that into consideration, I'm looking at sort of the end of September for a release.
Cool. So did you do everything yourself on this album?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's a little bit of a necessity being the mother of invention, so to speak. Sometimes when I'm writing, especially when I'm writing on my own, you want to see if one part works with something else. So you pick up a guitar and say, well, this seems like a pretty cool part. I wonder how that's going to work with something else. So you record it, and then you play against it with another instrument. And you keep going back and forth and making changes. And when you're writing like that, that's the process. Well, when you finally got to the end where everything is, you're happy with everything, at that point, it's all recorded. So, there's no real point to go back and re-record. As opposed to if I'm working in a group where we're all working in the same room together and we're trying these ideas out and then we practice them and then we go in and record them as a group, that would be one way of working. And the other way of working, of course, is to simply write a song from start to finish on guitar, on an acoustic guitar, what we Brits like to refer to as the old grey whistle test, which means that the song has to be able to stand up in its minimalistic form as a good song. And then when you're happy with that, then you would arrange it and go and record it. So these are the three ways that you can record. And I did it the first way. So I was writing songs. I was about this time last year, I sat down and started writing songs. And before a couple of months had passed, I think I had about 15 or 16 songs.
Wow.
Mostly completed. And then I picked my favorite 12 out of them. So that's what happened.
That's cool.
So yeah, the result wasn't really intentional, but I ended up playing everything on it. And it's a great exercise.
That's cool. I mean, I'm looking forward to hearing it because, and you're singing, is it, and there's vocals on it as well. You're singing on it?
Yeah, no, I'm singing and everything. Yeah.
Cool.
I sing quite a lot. So.
Good. I can't wait to hear it, to be honest with you.
Thank you. It was great. We did a great show right when I had this together. I put a very quick haphazard band together with some people I'm sure you probably know. I'm sure you know Zach Throne. And
I don't know if I know him.
Mr. Brady and Brent Fitz played drums, and
cool. I know him.
Yeah, and we just we did a little show here in Vegas just to test the water, and much to my surprise, the show sold out.
Wow.
It's not the show I wanted everyone to see because it was the first show, but still, that was really encouraging, and it was nice to see everybody there. People were very complimentary; they loved it. So that was good.
Cool. Did you play guitar or did you play bass?
No, I actually played bass and sang.
Okay.
Which is a very difficult thing to do, is to sing and play bass. In my previous solo ventures, I played guitar and sung.
I've heard that.
And it's easier to play guitar.
As you were writing the songs, since you were singing them, did you keep that in mind that you might have to sing and play bass to those songs?
No, not really. I mean, it's something which I enjoy doing, and I enjoy the challenge. But the reason it's difficult to do is when you're playing guitar, you're pretty much strumming most of the time.
Right.
When you're playing bass, you're actually playing a melodic line, and very often that melodic line moves in contrapedal motion to the melody line. So you're singing one line and playing another line that are not the same, and so it requires a great deal of familiarity with both to be able to nail that. It's hard. There's not many people are good at it, but the people that are good at it are spectacular. I mean, look at your own Geddy Lee, for example.
I was just going to say Geddy. I was just going to mention that.
Yeah, but it's also Sting, and it's also Paul McCartney, and it's also a lot of people like that who sing and play bass at the same time. Glenn Hughes is another one who does it fantastic. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And these are the people I admire tremendously. So I like to try to, I like to accept the challenge.
No, that's cool. So how would you term the music? Is it like a hard rock project? Is it like, how would you term it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, the way I started writing was very kind of influenced by a lot of really modern metal. So I was sort of incorporating a lot of that, but I tend to write very commercial material.
Yeah.
So there's that element to it. There are about, half the songs are definitely quite heavy. The other half have more of sort of experimental sound. I'm a big fan of anything that Peter Gabriel does. So those kind of treatments to songs, and 2 or 3 songs that are just plain great songs, commercial songs.
Yeah.
So the first song is pretty heavy and a little unusual. The first single that's going to come out. So, and a couple of the more ballady songs are definitely very British sounding.
Cool.
Some of my early influences were sort of David Bowie, Motley Crue, all those British bands
Yeah.
at that time. So, you know, you hear some of those elements in there. But I think it's pretty modern sounding.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you know, when I finish the songs and send them around, you never know what's going to come back at you.
Yeah.
You don't know, because it's very difficult to be objective when you're in the middle of something like that after several months. And, you know, by the time you finish recording, you're what's that expression, being too close to the forest to see the trees?
Yeah,
or too close to the trees to see the forest. I can never remember which one it is. But you can't really be objective about it. So you send it out and you wait to see what comes back.
Yeah.
And 2 labels were very interested and said, we really love this stuff. It sounds really cool. It's modern. It's really different. It's unique. It's commercial. And I ended up deciding to do business with one of those labels.
Cool. Now I must ask you about writing "Shot in the Dark." Did you know that song was going to be like as good as it was?
It's a good song. I'm assuming you mean did I have any idea it was going to be as big as it was?
Yeah.
And the answer to that is absolutely not. I mean, if I look on my ASCAP, I think I've got about 400 titles registered or something. I mean, it's a lot of material that I've written, whether it's cues for movies or whether it's complete songs.
Yeah.
That's the one, of course, that everybody knows because it was so big.
Yeah.
But I don't think anyone really has any idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been in a situation many times where I've been in a band and we've gone to record an album and everybody's pretty much hands down, that's going to be the single. And then you send it to the label and they go, oh, this is the single. And they pick something completely that you never thought about. And you say, no, what about that song? And they're like, oh, no, that'll never work as a single.
Really?
So,
yeah.
I don't think you really know because you're too close to it sometimes.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think a song is done and you put it out there and you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, that song has the tuning on that song on "Shot in the Dark" is different, right? It's got a different tune, because I know guys try to play it and you're like, no, it's in a weird tuning. Did you write it like that?
Yeah, I did. The reason it's like that is I wrote it on piano.
Oh, okay.
So that's what it was originally written on, and the way that was written on a piano, it didn't easily translate to a guitar. So I think, you know, for that purposes of the Ozzy song, Jake had to retune his guitar to play it, and that's why. That's the only reason.
Okay, but it sounds so cool. It's just that riffing is so cool, and the way Jake does it was phenomenal, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jake's an amazing guitar.
Did he say anything about that to you? About like, oh, thanks for putting it in that I have to change this tuning, or he was just like, oh, this is cool. Let's try this.
No, you know, we were basically playing it with we had a little electric piano in the rehearsal room, and I was playing it, and we were adapting it as we were going along.
Cool.
And it's like, oh, okay, I need to keep this note ringing, but running through the whole progression. But maybe I'll retune this string. I mean, I don't think it's very unusual for guitar players to use multiple tunings. I mean, I'll go out and I'll play shows sometimes where I may have 2 or 3 bass guitars which have different tunings.
Right.
And we did a show a little while ago, just a local fun show that I do with some great musicians where we play like a lot of modern metal. And one of the guitar players actually had, I think he broke all records, had 8 guitars with different tunings.
Wow.
On the side of the stage.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was George Pahone from the Black Eyed Peas. Great guitar. Yeah,
that's cool.
And brought tons and tons of guitars.
I mean, throughout your career, you have played with some impressive guitar players. Like, I just found out that you had done something with Jimmy Page before you were in Ozzy. I was reading your bio on your website, so I was kind of going through that, and I was like, I didn't even realize that. And then, of course, Jakey Lee, Steve Stevens, Steve Lukather, Richie Kotzen, Vivian Campbell. Like, those are some major guitar players.
Yeah, never heard of any of them. No, seriously, without meaning to sound hearty or anything like that, I'm very fortunate to have been able to work with the people I've worked with, and not a day goes past that I'm not aware of that. And that also applies to drummers. I've had the privilege of playing with some of the greatest drummers in the world.
Yeah.
And as a rhythm section, as a bass player for a rhythm section, that's something that you really, really appreciate, and it really connects with you because, there's a very special bond between a bass player and drummer.
Yeah, and drummers have
Like
a
a
flair.
band within a band.
Yeah, and some drummers have a flair, and some of them like they play differently than the other ones. So locking in with that, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I've been doing a lot of work over the last 2 years with Carmine Apiece, who is Vinny Appice's brother. You notice how I managed to get their
Apiece, yeah. I'm actually having Carmine on the show tomorrow. So that was...
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to ask him. I'm going to say, how do you want me to pronounce it, Apice or Apiece?
They're two brothers separated by a common surname.
Yeah.
But it's they're very specific about how they want their names sounded. I actually, at one time, I had actually trained my phone, because you can train your phone to have the correct pronunciation of people's names.
Oh, really?
And it would say
I didn't know that.
and Carmine Apiece, until I updated the software one day and it was all wiped out again. I've given up now. Anyway, but so Carmine, for example, is a very, very different drummer from his brother Vinny, who I play with.
Right.
So very, very different. Both spectacular drummers, but they definitely have different styles and different flares.
Totally. I mean, as I was getting ready to talk to Carmine tomorrow, I was listening to some of his drum stuff, and especially on the last King Cobra album. And there's just this flair that he has that is, and I know it's totally different than Vinny. It's just this really, I don't even know how to describe it, but to hear it, you're like, wow, that's different. Like, it's really cool.
He's very musical because, and I say musical in terms of, he tends to follow a lot of the phrasing that's going on melodically.
Yeah.
So maybe musical isn't the right word. Maybe melodic would be the right word, which is strange to apply that to a drummer. But, when he hears melodic phrases, he tends to complement them or play against them or do something that is inspired by that. Vinny, on the other hand, is much more of a powerhouse, explosive drummer. He will come up with fills that will completely direct the music in places that you would not immediately hear, and for that, he really is spectacular. Vivian always says that he's the most inspiring drummer he's ever played with because he just plays drums and Vivian comes up with riffs around the drums. So they both do incredible things. Both those brothers are amazing.
Yeah.
But tell Carmine I said hi. I love Carmine.
I will, absolutely. It's funny, I mean, talking about Vivian, so the last in line, you guys are looking for a new singer, apparently. Have you found a new singer yet?
Not really going to say very much about that. However, at some point very soon, there will be some announcements made.
Okay, cool.
And you'll be the first to know.
Well, I was surprised by that, but it is what it is, right? And we won't get into that. So,
yeah.
Now I wanted to go back a little bit to. I didn't realize as well before you were with Ozzy and Jimmy Page, you had played with Simon Kirke from Bad Company.
Simon Kirke.
Yeah, from Bad Company. And you were signed to the Swan Song label. What was the name of that band? Because in the bio, I couldn't find anything that said there was a name of that band.
It was, the band was called Wildlife.
Wildlife.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we were signed to Swan Song because it was pretty much Simon's sort of solo band or Simon's venture after leaving Bad Company.
Yeah.
And of course, Bad Company were on Swan Song, and Bad Company were managed by Peter Grant.
Right.
And so by proxy, we were on Swan Song and we were managed by Peter Grant. And therein lies the connection as to where I ended up working with Jimmy Page.
Yeah.
Was through that connection. I became very close with the Swan Song guys. And in fact, one of my dearest friends was a gentleman by the name of Phil Carlo. And Phil was the Led Zeppelin's tour manager at the end after Richard Cole. And he'd worked with Bad Company. He was one of the Swan Song people. And we're still best friends to this day. In fact, his daughter is my goddaughter.
Wow.
So it's like family,
Yeah. That's cool.
It's like family. I almost said that with an Italian thing. You're talking to Carmine tomorrow. So it's like a family thing,
Family. I mean, I read Carmine's book, and when I interview him, I'm going to talk a bit about it. It was a pretty wild book.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've read it, but it was
No, I know. I think we were all a bit like, wow, that's a little.
There was a lot in there. I was like, it was. I mean, he didn't hold anything back, so it was.
No,
a lot.
no. I mean, I've got a book an autobiography which is finished, and I'm putting finishing touches to it. At some point, I want to release it,
Oh, cool.
and I'm very, very careful about what I'm putting in there. And I don't know that he was that cautious about it. He just was like, "This is it. This is what happened.
Yeah,
There you go."
Yeah, there was some eye opening stuff in there. I was like, I can't believe he printed that. But you know what? Good for him.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask about Ozzy, about the initial, and I'm sure you've told this story before, but I haven't, I don't know if I've ever heard it. How did you actually end up with Ozzy?
It was basically I auditioned.
Really?
In a nutshell. I mean, how the audition came about was different because I knew Sharon and I knew her secretary quite well as well, and for quite some length of time, they knew me. But when it came down to it at the end, it was an audition process.
Wow.
So I got an audition, and I went and I played. I spent some time playing with them,
yeah,
and that's how I got the gig.
Was Randy in the picture then? Was Randy playing drums?
Yeah,
then?
yeah, Randy was. That's very interesting as well because Randy was, I became very good friends with Randy because he was living in London, and he was playing with Lita Ford.
Oh, right.
And Lita,
yeah.
And Lita and I were pretty close, and so being with her, I met her band, of course, and Randy was her drummer. And so we became really good friends back then. And this was a few years prior to that.
Wow.
And so at this point, Randy had just joined Ozzy. He had got the gig. In fact, Sharon's secretary had called me and said, your friend Randy is flying in to go and audition with Ozzy. And he's going to fly in at this airport and he's got to catch a flight up to Scotland. So if you want to really surprise him, why don't you go to the airport and meet him as he's coming off the plane? And I thought, oh, that'd be a great idea. And I met him come off the plane, and he was just like, what the fuck are you doing here? And I said, well,
really?
What are you doing? So we had a couple of beers. He went up to Scotland. He got the gig. And it was about a couple of months later that it became apparent that they were looking for another bass player.
Yeah.
And Ozzy had seen me playing on a TV show, a live TV show with another artist, and called me up afterwards and said, I want to meet with you, and said, why don't you come down and have a play?
Wow.
And I went through, it was a long process. I played for about, a week or so. And then they said, thanks very much. And I went home and I thought, that's probably it. I was working with Jimmy at the time. And then they called me back and said, why don't you come back again? And came back again. And after maybe 2 weeks, they said to me, you got the gig.
That's cool. What was the chemistry? Yeah. The chemistry between yourself, Randy, and Jake?
Well, Randy and I to this day, Randy remains my, probably my lifelong best friend that I had. We were very, very close. And, not a day goes past that I don't think of it. May you rest in peace. I mean, it's been like 20 years.
That's crazy.
More than 20 years. Holy cow. 24 years.
Wow.
I have one of his paintings on my studio wall, and it's executive order from New Mexico that they created Randy Castillo Day.
That's cool.
He was just the greatest guy. And so that was just amazing. I mean, doing a tour like that with, just your best friend or partner in crime, whatever you want to call it, was just incredible. And Jake was amazing. I mean, Jake was he was a very sort of kept to himself. I think that's his personality. Yeah. He always kept to himself and I wouldn't say completely isolated, but he was just doing his own thing. But, once he was on stage, he was legendary.
Oh,
an amazing guitar player, amazing stage presence, just fantastic. And the band, the three-piece band, to me, that's a three-piece band, by the way. I consider a three-piece band to be whether it's three pieces or whether it's three-piece and a singer. I was thinking musically, that's always a three-piece band to me.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite format for a band. Absolutely, hands down. Once you start adding guitar players and adding keyboards and stuff, it tends to smooth everything over a lot, which is cool too. But for me, I mean, the excitement of playing in a three-piece band, you just can't fuck up.
Right.
You've got to be way up on top of your game. And you get to a solo, the guitar player is going to want to make a solo. You and the drummer have to change what you do to make sure you keep a canvas underneath. There are challenges all the way through, and they are good challenges. That's stuff that, if you were into sports, that would be the most trying maneuvers that you could imagine. And so it's very gratifying, and it's just fun. Yeah. So that was the chemistry for us. It was just a great band.
Right. So were you gone before Zakk came on board?
Yeah, no, I wasn't. No, in fact, it was Randy and I that pretty much found Zakk. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird stories I've heard about how that's happened, but the reality was we had to go through guitar players. They had let Jake go for whatever reasons, and at that time, I mean, we were like, holy cow, how are we supposed to replace Jake?
Yeah.
And they're like, nope, don't worry, you'll find someone. So, okay. By the way, the accent on that sentence was, you'll find someone, because Ozzy and Sharon took off to promote the Randy Rhoads tribute album. Do you remember that album?
I have it.
So they literally had to take off at that point and go travel around the world doing interviews, doing press to promote that record, leaving Randy and I in LA and about 400 guitar players.
Wow. 400. Wow.
Well, that's how many we got, how many submissions we got. That wasn't all the people we played with. Right. I mean, we went the first, second, third screens to get through these. We probably played with I don't know, maybe 60 people.
Wow.
And then we had short lists. And Zakk was recommended to us by Mark Weiss, the photographer. Yeah. Everyone was calling up going, hey, I know this guy, try this guy, try that guy. And Mark had called up and said, there's this guy who plays in a band called Cyrus, I think it was. And you got to check him out. He's really cool. And they talked to Sharon, and Sharon said, well, we'll fly him out. You'll go pick him up. I think somewhere I have it. I don't know where it is now. I found it the other day. I have a notepad. And on the notepad, there's phone messages scribbled down from back then. And one of them is his name and flight number and time of arrival at Continental Flight. And I put a square around because I had to go to the airport and pick him up.
Right.
And I found this, right?
That's crazy, cool. Man. Wow. That's pretty cool.
So we went to pick him up. And I mean, the story of the audition was just fantastic. So back then it was the 80s. Everyone was going to GIT.
Right.
And so every single guitar player who came in the door most of them had a tech with them, because the first thing that came through was a huge flight case full of effects pedals and crap, and then a couple of cabinets, and then setting everything up, which probably took about 45 minutes or an hour to set up. And then they plug in, and they all had those, Kramers, or they had Charvels, or those guitars de jour, and they all had exactly the same sound. And that sound was that kind of super saturated sound that, well, it just didn't cut through. It just sounded like buzz. And so it was just the same thing over and over and over again. And when Zakk came in, he came in off the plane and he opened his case and pulled out a Les Paul, and we're like, holy crap, what's that? I haven't seen a Les Paul in a while. I don't think you could trade Les Paul in for firewood back in the 80s.
That's
Nobody
crazy,
wanted
right?
Les Paul. Right. They were just like, people going to Guitar Center going, I want to trade this Les Paul piece of shit for one of these, what does Vivian call them? Pointy guitars.
Is that what Vivian calls? That's funny. Well, he's a Les Paul guy now too, right?
He has always been a Les Paul guy. I mean, so he's, last in line, he plays his original black Les Paul that he started out playing, that actual guitar. That's the only guitar he plays. So and Zakk pulls this guitar out and he goes, you guys got an amp? And we're like, well, there's this poor, solitary, lone Marshall amp in the corner that no one's even looked at. It was like, if this was a kid's cartoon, that would be the miserable amp, sitting in the corner with it. Yep. No one's paid any attention. Everyone else is playing through all these 80s different types of amps. Anyway, so we said, this Marshall, that'll do. So he plugs the Les Paul into the Marshall, nothing else. No pedals, no effects pedals, just turns it up. And it was amazing. All of a sudden, all the air in the room starts moving. And Randy was no slouch when it came to playing drums. And I'd like to think I'm in the same vein. So we were creating an awful lot of like dynamics in there. And here finally was a guitar that was present within that chemistry. And right away you were like, oh my gosh, that's it. This is going to work.
Wow.
And so he came back a couple of times, and then finally he made the short list when Ozzy showed up. And then we went through, I think it was about 6 or 7 guitar players on the short list. And he got the gig.
I remember when that album came out and blew my face off when No Rest for the Wicked came out and his playing on it. And you're like, wow, this is unreal.
It was incredible. I mean, he had his own sound, his own style. It was different from everybody else, but it was just powerful.
Yeah.
You know, it just wasn't buzzy and like, okay, well, here's the solos and here's this, all this chugging stuff. It was, when he was chugging, if I wasn't on top of my game, you'd have been saying, where's the bass player? Is there a bass player in this room? You know, you really had to stay on top of it because he has so much of the sound spectrum covered in the way he plays guitar. He really is and that with the passage of time, I think he's earned himself a legend status, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Absolutely has. I mean, I think even at that time, you knew right away when you heard that album how legendary that he was and how special of a player he was. I heard a story, maybe it was in one of his in his book, and
it's not true.
No, but this isn't a bad story. This was a story about the guys from Skid Row. Dave Sabo used to work in this music store. And Zakk used to come in there as a kid and play. And they were like, this kid is going somewhere. Like they already knew because of the Jersey connection, right?
Right. That's where he was from. I don't know that he started playing very, very young. I mean, from what I remember, he hadn't been playing.
He was only like 3 or 4 years or something, right?
Right. That's what I'd heard. And I think he told me that, because we all started playing instruments when we were, different times.
Yeah.
Some people later, some people earlier. I started playing instruments when I was 2 or 3 years old and then played classical instruments. I didn't pick up a guitar until I was about, 11 or 12.
Yeah.
But as some people earlier than that, and then some people way later than that. I think he was later. I think he was in his mid-teens or something, right?
Yeah, it might have been like, I don't know the exact timeline. It was probably maybe he was 17, 18. Because how old was he when he came there? Like 19 or something like that?
He was pretty young.
Yeah.
I want to say right about 20. He was right around 20. I mean, I didn't think he was that young at the time when I was in Ozzy. I was 23.
Right.
So
yeah, you were young too.
We were all pretty young back then. I don't know what happened, but we all got older.
Yeah, exactly. And Snakehead said that he would go into the music store, grab a guitar, and start playing this classical piece. And they're like, right?
Yeah, he loved classical music and he loved playing that stuff. We were working at a studio for a long, long time as we were starting to come up with material for the next album in southern England and outside of Brighton. And I would walk past his bedroom and he'd be sitting there with an acoustic guitar playing classical music, a la Randy Rhoads.
Yeah.
Kind of things. And he was fascinated by all kinds of different types of music. So, I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, he really is a great guitar.
Yeah. Did he bring in some of those riffs though that ended up on that first album?
Difficult for me to tell because while I was there for a long, long time, I actually left before they started that album.
Okay.
And I had been writing a lot of material, and when I left, I took that material with me. So they started putting things together. I think initially, I think Terry came back for a while. Terry Butler came back for a bit, didn't he? And then after that, it was Bob Daisley, and then Bob brought some writing, and they pretty much wrote that album very quickly and put it together.
That was an incredible book, was Bob Daisley's book.
Oh, yeah.
And it took me forever to read it, but it was incredible, and it was very eye-opening as well, in a different way than Carmine's book. There was a lot of, I was like, wow.
Yeah, Bob doesn't pull any punches either, and I think he's got his stories to tell and his experiences, which are very interesting to learn about.
Yeah, because you were there, and he was writing. Like, he wrote a lot of the words to The Ultimate Sin on the album, did he not?
Yeah, but there again, when I came into the band, they had fallen out with Bob. So I wasn't working with Bob. I mean, the only thing I knew was when I came in that those songs had been written.
Oh, so it was already done.
It was already done with the exception of Shot in the Dark. There were some rough demos that had been made, and that's what we used as guidance to rehearse in pre-production to go in and do the album.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely, that was all stuff that Bob had written with Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about how the hell did you ever write words to Thank God for the Bomb? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think about Bob Daisley, and I think that Ozzy came to him and said, well, we're going to call it more or less the way he describes it is, we're going to call this song Thank God for the Bomb, go write a song kind of thing. Like,
did he come up with the title?
I think that's kind of the story that I heard, that Ozzy had that title and he gave it to Bob and he said, we're going to call this song Thank God for the Bomb.
Yeah.
Whether there's truth to that,
I don't know, but one thing is for sure. I mean, Bob has always written lyrics.
Yeah.
He's written a lot of lyrics. And by the same token, so's Terry.
right?
Terry.
Yeah.
He wrote lyrics for all the way through Sabbath.
Sabbath, yeah.
So it's not unusual. You know, Ozzy does contribute here and there.
Melodies, right?
I was little bits and pieces here and there. I mean, you know, it's not. You know, I don't know categorically. I don't think that has ever been documented completely accurately. But he would come in and he would say, I've got this melody line, or I've got this phrase, or I've got this thing. And that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's a contribution, you know?
Yeah.
It's part and parcel of it. So Bob had already written them. I think somewhere I have the handwritten lyrics for that whole album.
Wow.
You know, we end up, I don't know, collecting this stuff only because you do. That's
amazing.
I have a set which is one of the rough board mixes from when we did the backing tracks for The Ultimate Sin, and it's kind of nice to look at this stuff and go, my gosh, that was like 40 years ago.
That's crazy. Yeah, it'd be the 40th anniversary this year, right? It would be now.
Yes, it will be.
Right,
be, yeah.
Which is crazy.
I can't believe that.
That's nuts. Now, what was it like working with Ron Nevison? I mean, they're slack for sometimes of that production on that album. I think Jake has come out and said he would love to have it remixed.
Yeah, I wasn't. It wasn't a thrilling episode for me working with Ron. You know, it was. You know, he was kind of very dismissive a lot of the time. You know, I would make suggestions and he was very dismissive. He wasn't receptive to anything, and a couple of times. You know, it was like, okay, he's the guy that's doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really want to say anything more than that, but that wasn't the highlight for me of making that record.
Now, he did Vince's album too. Were you still around during the recording process?
Yeah, he did Vince's album too, and I had the exact same experience. I remember saying after I did that first, The Ultimate Sin, I said, I don't ever really want to do an album with him again. And so the Vince Neil album was that second album that I didn't want to do.
Oh, geez. Well, that's all we'll say about that. And that's cool.
Yeah.
Now,
he seemed more interested to try to bring in his buddies to play and stuff like that. He wasn't really like when I go to produce a band, which I do these days, my job as a producer is to come in, listen to the material, listen to the personalities, find some way to tie them all together so that they bring their A game, and they all do what it is that they're supposed to do that complements everything and creates a project which is exactly who that band is. That's my job.
Yeah.
My job is to come in there and say, oh, you know what, I think I've got better people I can bring in here, or I want to bring my buddies in here and have them do stuff and get involved in that kind of stuff.
Does that become a point of getting points or getting paid for your buddies? Is that some of the reason why they do that stuff?
I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea why people do anything, but you know, people usually have reasons for doing things. Maybe they, you know, want to bring their buddies in on something. Maybe they want to. But, you know, he was kind of dismissive to Randy. He was dismissive to me, even dismissive to Jake. Wow. And I was like, at one point, Sharon stepped in and basically had to have a come to Jesus moment with him.
Really?
And say, you're being hired to do this record. That's what you're going to do. focus on it, stick to it. And if you don't want to do that, then let us know. We'll get someone else.
Wow.
So sometimes Sharon would do exactly the right thing, you know?
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, she wants the album to be good too, right? She wants it to be an Ozzy album, right? Like, what? You can't do an Ozzy album that doesn't sound like Ozzy.
It was a great album. It was a great band. I think what some of the people that you mentioned before had touched on is that there was a degree of sameness going through the whole record.
Yeah.
So, for example, just to explain to your listeners again, I mean, you can pick up certain albums, like you'll pick up a Queen album, for example, and each song is fantastic, but each song has had a different treatment, a different approach that's brought something of the spirit of that song out that makes it sound different. It doesn't sound like the exact same band playing the same song, you know, one track after another. And I think that that's a really great part of production is to find a way to record a song with its own individual and unique personality, so that when you listen back to it, you identify that sound with that song, and that song takes you on a journey. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't.
No, I agree with you, 100%. 100%.
So that's been some of the critique that I've heard from some of the people who were also involved with us on that album about its production.
Interesting. Now, from there, you went to Billy Idol, which I didn't realize, and I forgot about that, actually. Yeah. And that comes about, was that song in Fort Fairlane as well? Was there a Billy Idol song in that movie? I can't remember.
Was it Rock the Cradle?
Rock the Cradle, yeah, okay. That was kind of the single, right, from that movie, from that soundtrack, was it?
It was like the trailer, like you were invited to have been the trailer for Encino
Man, yeah.
So it's funny how all these circles kind of cross, right? It was funny enough because when I joined Billy Idol, nobody could figure that one out, right? It was like, because Billy Idol, I mean, today, Billy Idol, Ozzy Osbourne, huge stars, right?
Yeah.
But back then, Billy Idol was in one genre of music, Ozzy was in another genre of music, and there was very little connection between those two circles. There was very little overlap. So people said to me, hold on a second, you left Ozzy to join Billy? Like, we'd imagine that you go into some metal band or something. And I said, no, I always wanted to work with Billy. And it was a bucket list thing for me. So, you know, I grew up in London. I grew up in, not London, Ontario, but London, England.
London, England, yeah.
It's another version of London. And
that was good.
And I was born in Maida Vale, which is in Paddington, and that's an area that was where punk was born.
Oh, cool.
In 1974, 75 maybe. And all those bands, the London SS, the Kilburn and the High Roads, the Clash, Generation X, they all started there.
Yeah.
And I was in my mid-teens, right? So I'm going, I loved classic rock. I loved glam rock. I loved all of these things. I loved Free. I loved, Led Zeppelin. I loved all of this stuff. And then there's this punk thing that comes along. And in a way, I'm sort of like, I don't really like this. I'm more classic rock. But in another way, it was the music of my generation.
Yeah.
Right? Not the Who, my generation, but my generation for real. And so there was an excitement that was going along with people of my age at school and what have you. Everyone was into, there was no denying the energy that was there in this music. It was incredible. And so I became a little bit of a chameleon, listening to both. And at a certain point in time, I started working with a guy who was the original drummer in Generation X.
Oh, wow.
John Tao, his name is. And John, we started doing sessions together, and he'd say to me, yeah, I'm going to try to get you in some of these bands, all right? And I'd say, sure. And he was not able to do so because I was about 4 years too late to that party. Those people were about 4 years older than me. And so it never really happened. John went on to work with Adam and the Ants, and then he went to work with UK Subs and what have you, and I went my own direction. So years later, all of a sudden, I'm hanging out with Billy, and Billy says, hey, let's put a band together. What do you think I'm going to say? Absolutely, we got to do this. This is going to be great.
That's cool. Was Steve Stevens already gone?
Steve Stevens, he was not involved with Billy at the time. Billy had wanted to make a complete change.
Okay.
And so we had a different guitar player. And, it coincided with the time that I chose to leave Ozzy. And so I called him up one day and I said, let's do it. Here we go. And we jumped into it and started working what became Charmed Life.
Wow. And you just did that one album with him?
I just did that one album with him. It didn't really end well. There was a lot of distractions. Yeah, there was a lot of distractions in the band. I mean, with what was going on, it started out on really good terms, and then there was a lot of people that got involved that had no business getting involved in a band. I'm sure if you read one of his books, he'll probably.
I have his book, actually. I have one of his books, and I did read it. I'll have to go back and read. That was like 5 years ago, though, so I'll have to read it. Read a lot of books since then.
There were peripheral people who had nothing to do with music that were getting involved, and it was starting to turn into a distraction where we really weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing. And we'd been in the studio for months, and we had very little show for it. And then at a certain point in time, I just thought, this isn't what I signed up for. I still have a career to get on with here.
Yeah.
And it was time to move on.
Is that when Beggars and Thieves came along?
Yeah.
And I will show you this. I actually have the vinyl.
Wow. Look at that. It's a great looking record, right? I love seeing vinyl albums these days.
Isn't it awesome? I got this, I think, on Discogs. I looked it up. I got it from Europe, I believe. And,
oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, because it was one of those holy grail ones that I wanted on vinyl. I had it on CD, but I wanted the vinyl, so I hunted it down. And
the other one on vinyl, I mean, the Ultimate Sin is almost impossible to find on vinyl. Of course, that's because you have it. There's only one.
I have the only copy. It's not in great shape. I bought it off somebody. I want to get another copy. You're right. It is hard to find.
Yeah, it is. And I guess it's become quite a cult classic because for that reason, if you can find it, they're pretty pricey.
Yeah, I can't remember what I probably got it 5 or 6 years ago. Guy was selling it. I found it on Marketplace on Facebook, and I went and snatched it up. But it's not a really clean copy. But that Beggars and Thieves album is in decent shape.
Good.
And I love the opening track on that song. I mean, on that album, No More Broken Dreams. I just thought is such a great song.
Yeah, it was a great band. It's a great band. Right band, wrong timing.
Yeah,
this was one of those albums that came out in that period, right where Teen Spirit came up, and all of a sudden it was like all changed.
But you know what? It's more of a rock album, a hard rock album. Then it's not a hair album. I don't think it is. I don't think it's got.
No,
that.
I think it was. It definitely had a commercial side to it.
Yeah,
but as we said earlier, that's something I relate to. Shot in the Dark was a commercial song. It was a pop song.
Right.
Being treated as a rock song. Maybe in there is the formula where something becomes successful, to go back to your original question. But taking a song which has basically a pop undercurrent and then translating it as into a rock song creates something new. The Beggars and Thieves album was very commercial. Had a lot of commercial stuff on it. We did a lot of shows with Tesla.
Oh, cool. That would be a good bill.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun. We did shows with Dokken, with Tesla, with who else did we do? There was all those bands at that time. But this was all that period where all of a sudden, grunge started and record labels could not unload bands fast enough.
I know. I felt like that album, Metal Edge, really pinpointed it, and they were writing about it, and then all of a sudden it came out, and then it was on to the next thing. You know what I mean? It was very bizarre. And I'm not gonna lie, I never seen this album in Canada. When I got the CD was years later on eBay. I hunted it down because it was one of those ones I had to have. And then, as I said, I hunted down the vinyl. So I didn't hear it, honestly, until probably 15, 20 years after it came out, which is crazy. I don't even remember seeing the video on Much Music up here either. It might have been played. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, actually, I think the album did pretty respectably by today's standards. I want to say it sold about 140,000.
Wow, that's good. Wow,
today that'd be great.
Yeah,
like, wow.
And you know what? There's depth in it though. Like the songs themselves. Like when you think of Your Love Is in Vain is a great song, and Billy Knows Better. I mean, it's a really, really solid album.
It's a great record.
Now, how much input did you have into the actual songs? How did that end up that you joined the band?
They were based out of New York, and they had somehow been put in touch with me, and they were looking for a missing piece of the puzzle to finish the band.
Right.
And of course, I was coming off Ozzy and Billy Idol, so somehow my name had been recommended, and I went and had a play with them in LA. And there was, just like yourself, I was really impressed with the songs, and there was a chemistry in playing them as well. And I said, this is something I've put my shoulder behind. I'm very, I'm picky about what I do. I don't just do any old stuff. It's got to be stuff that I really like and that I respect. So I decided, let's do this. It involved me moving to New York, which was, I'm not a New York guy. Coming from a city, if I want to live in a city, I'd probably live in London or somewhere like that. But New York was an experience. It was always great for about 10 days, and then it was like, give me the fuck out of here. Jeez.
Really?
It's like complete claustrophobia.
It is.
Whether indoors or outdoors or wherever you are, and forget trying to have a responsible, going to bed at normal times. People go out at like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m, and you get back at 5 and 6 a.m, and it was like, whoa. So that aside, we started working on songs. I think I co-wrote 2 songs on that record. But of course, I was very involved with the arrangements and everything else. But actual writing, I think there was 2 songs that I co-wrote.
Cool. Ironically, it's funny that Ronnie ended up playing with Jake in Red Dragon later as a bass player.
Yeah, it is and it isn't. I mean, I think he had known Jake from way before.
Okay.
Way before, maybe even before Jake had been in Ozzy. I don't know, this isn't my story, but that's what I heard from Ron. I see Ron from time to time. He lives in Vegas, obviously.
Yes, I knew that, yeah.
His whole family has his history is in Vegas. His family history is here.
That's
so, so I think they knew each other from before. And then, he was playing, I think he was instrumental in helping Jake put that band together.
Yeah.
And also sat in playing bass.
Yeah. It's Jake's in Vegas too, is he not?
Yes, he is.
Wow. And the poor guy got shot.
Yeah. No,
out walking his dog or something. And you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. I don't know what was going on. I heard about it, and I was like, wow, what the hell? What's up with that shit? I heard in the middle of the night or something, somebody shot him or something.
Yeah, I know. It was, luckily survived, and we got to see him do that show with Ozzy last year, which was so cool to see Jake back out there playing that stuff, which was cool. From there, you did Vince. You went to Vince, more or less, I guess. Yeah,
Vince and I had always been really good friends. We met again back in England, way back when Motley Crue first came to England.
Yeah.
And that's the first time we met, and we just kind of hit it off. And then when I was in Ozzy, just a short while afterwards, we hooked up again in LA, and it's like, wow, friends reunited. And we hung out together a lot. We were always going out, hanging out, going here, going there. Whenever we weren't working and we were in the same place, we were together. And I mean, invariably that led to Ford Fairlane. It led to peripheral projects and things. Yeah.
Now, of course, Randy played drums in that band, but Carlos Cavazo was a guitar. How did Carlos end up in that Black Plague band?
Carlos is friends with Vince as well.
Okay.
And Vince had said, "Hey, we literally." He said to me, "I got to put a band together. Who should we get?" And I said, first thing I said is Randy. And then he goes, I said, "What about guitar player?" He goes, "I really want to use Carlos." We're like, perfect. That was it.
That was it.
Done.
Did you guys ever get to play a song together?
Nah, not really.
That's too bad. I often wondered that.
We were a fictitious band.
Yeah, it was a killer band, though. Like when you think about it in perspective, it's like,
On a related note, I mean, we always did a lot of benefits and benefit shows and benefit concerts, and that band was always the same. It was always Randy, and it was always Vince and myself and a couple of other people, Howard Leese. That was the lineup that would nearly always play together.
Yeah.
And so indirectly, yes, we did get to play a lot of songs together, but it wasn't under the name Black Plague or anything. It was just,
Yeah, that's cool.
benefits and jams and what have you.
Yesterday, I watched the video for the first time of You're Invited, But Your Friends Can't Come, the Encino Man version.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but First, there was a thing last week on a show called The Hair Metal Guru. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's getting a lot of try. He's got a really good show. But they did a comparison between the Motley album and the Vince Neil Exposed album. And your name, of course, came up as I'm talking about it. And they went through the whole story. And if you wanted to check it out, by all means. It's kind of cool, them talking about the first part of it is the Exposed album. So anyways, they did a comparison. They said, well, which version of You're Invited do you prefer? I myself prefer the version on the movie soundtrack.
Right.
I think it's a little bit slower. I always thought that they kind of sped it up on Exposed.
Yeah, I mean, that was written and that was recorded very, very quickly. And it was, Zakk Wylde.
Yeah, and Tommy Shaw, right?
Tommy wrote it. Jack is a dear friend as well. Love Jack. He's just the best. Known him for a long, long time. And he was also a very, very close friend of Vince's. And that's why they got together and said, well, we're going to write you a song. So the connection was that Jack was managed by Bruce Bird, who managed Damn Yankees and managed and Night Ranger. And so what happened is that that's how Vince came over to be managed also by Bruce Bird.
Okay.
And then one day I get a phone call, and I know Bruce Bird, right? So I get a phone call, and there's three people on a speakerphone, and it's Jack, and it's Bruce, and it's Vince. And Bruce was like, so, your buddy Vince, he left Motley Crue, and he's got this new single, and we're going to do this thing, and we're going to do this, and he's your he's your buddy. We need you to help out and put his band together, and he wants you to. And Jack was right there as well, and that's kind of, I always laugh about it because that's kind of the way that Bruce was. He had a very nice, cool way of sort of telling you what you were about to do. So,
that's cool.
And so the timing was right, and I said, sure, I'd love to do this. So we got together, and very quickly we filmed that. We filmed the video.
Yeah.
That you were referring to.
Yeah.
And at that time, shortly thereafter, we started putting the framework of a band together, Vince and myself. We started working on songs, writing every day. And then we started taking record company meetings, Vince and myself. Bruce would send us around to go here, go there, go to Giant, go to Warner Brothers. We ended up with Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Deal. We went and started working on the record. And that's when we finished putting the band together, and so we started working with Ron, and that's when everything went south.
Yeah. Well, now in the video, just rewinding a little bit. So Vic Fox is on drums in the video,
yes.
right? And yourself. Yeah, amazing drummer. And I saw him live with Vince, opening for Van Halen, and he was incredible. I was like, wow, this guy, because I knew him from enough.
One of my favorite drummers of all time. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so good. Was Robbie Crane on guitar in that video?
Robbie was on guitar. So the story, well, we put the band together. We started, we did the video, and I said to Vince, okay, we need to get a band together for the video. He goes, well, Vic Fox is going to play drums. You obviously, I'm going to play bass. We need a couple of guitar players. I go, well, who do you want to get? He goes, well, my brother-in-law's, one of my brother-in-law's best friends is Robbie.
Oh,
but he's a bass player, but we can have him in the video playing guitar. So we said to him, do you want to play guitar? And he goes, sure. So he comes in, and there was another guy as well, and I can't remember who.
I don't know who. I tried to figure who. I looked at it. I was like, I don't know who that guy is, and he does the solo.
Yeah, he was just another friend, and so that was the band that we did. But then when we started putting the band together, it was really it was Vince and myself and Vic, and it was going to be Adrian Vandenberg at the time.
Really?
Yeah.
That would have been so cool.
That was the original plan. And then when we'd taken a meeting, we eventually went with Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers suggested Steve Stevens. And at that point, there was
because he was on Warner, right?
He was on Warner, and he'd been working with Michael Monroe.
Michael Monroe, yeah.
And so it was suggested, and I think that resonated with Vince for whatever reason. I mean, I got my own theories on that, but, he said, no, that's what we're going to do. So we got Steve involved. And And then we said to Robbie, look, if you want to stay in the band, you can. You're going to be playing guitar. You okay with that? And he was like, sure. So okay.
Cool. Oh,
cool, right?
yeah.
So it was pretty much, it was very granular. I mean, it was like a bunch of buddies together, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put a band together, and that's how we started working. And then things kind of once we were working, we worked for a while. It was going very, very well. Bruce Bird unfortunately passed away.
Oh,
Just a freak thing. On Halloween night, he had an aneurysm, a brain hemorrhage.
oh, that's horrible.
Just had headaches, and they took him into hospital, and headaches turned into like, oh my gosh, he's got an aneurysm, and the next morning it was all over.
Wow.
Just goes to show you how life can turn on a dime sometimes.
No kidding. Wow.
And once Bruce was there, Bruce was a great center person who could keep things together. And once he was gone, everything just started falling apart, and it just became a lot of nonsense started happening. And I just said, you know what?
You were out of there.
I'm out of here.
That's too bad. How did Vince take that?
I think for a while he was being played along with it. Looking back on it, I think he probably sees it with much more clarity. We've stayed friends.
Oh,
I went out and did shows with him after that. We did a lot of shows together here and there. I did some of his solo shows after that with Brent Fitz.
Oh,
Brent
cool.
was playing
Brent's a great drummer. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've always stayed friends. So that's cool. But it's just, stuff happens in the music business, and then you have to decide whether you want to, whether it's going in the right direction or not. I did a lot with him. I'd written all those songs with him. A lot of those songs were leftovers from stuff I had been writing from Ozzy before. And
it's a great album, man.
When I left the band, I took the songs with me. So
yeah. Did I had spoken to Michael Monroe, and he had mentioned that Steve had brought one of those songs from what they were working on and didn't credit him. And I was like, oh, I can't remember which song it was, but
that Steve had brought one of those songs to Vince. Yeah, it's possible. Yeah. I mean, I didn't really get on very well with Steve.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I think he was looking to establish himself as the main guy or whatever, and I had already come in and written a bunch of songs, and that was, he took issue with that.
Mentioning Adrian Vandenberg, me thinking about that, and I think of how that may have turned out with Adrian, because I mean, what I know of Adrian being like such a great player, but a different, a good personality apparently. So I think he would have, I think that would have been a totally different band. And
totally, I think it would have been, I don't know what it would have been like. I think anything was going to be good if it was kept on the same focal point.
Yeah,
it was going to be good. Adrian is a fantastic guy. I'd known Adrian for years and years and years. He was, Vandenberg had been signed to Atlantic.
Yeah,
when I was in that band with Simon Kirk way back then, and so we were sort of kind of label mates almost. And I met them. They were great guys. They'd actually asked me to fill in for their bass player who had, I think the bass player's mother had passed away or something, and they had these shows, and would I fill in for some shows with them? And I said sure, and I was literally about to do that, and then they decided to postpone the shows. So we'd known each other a long time, and of course he was in Whitesnake. He's a wonderful human being.
Yeah,
I
always got that from him, that he just seemed like a very genuine guy and a great player, and hence why Coverdale probably loved him so much.
Yeah, and Vandenberg had quite a bit of a reputation in Britain, so that's where Coverdale knew him from.
Right.
They were very much a liked band in Britain. So
I love those albums, those Vandenberg albums, especially the first and second one. I really like those albums. Now, before I have one more question before I let you go, and I appreciate your time, Phil. Thanks so much for being so candid. Richie Kotzen. When did you play with Richie Kotzen?
It's a game. We're best friends. So we've been friends for a long, long time, and then one day we were jamming at a nightclub in LA, and we got up and played together. We just jammed a couple of songs and had some fun with it. And he came up to me afterwards and he said, "Would you be interested in putting a band together?" And I said, "What do you mean? Like, tell me more." And he goes, "Well, I've got all this solo stuff, and I want to start doing shows for my solo material, but I mean, I'm just curious." And I said, "Sure, let's do something." So we very quickly put a trio together. Remember that trio thing?
Yep.
And Yeah, and it was Richie and myself and Pat Torpey.
Oh,
Another
cool.
great guy.
Wow. Yeah. From Mr. Big. Wow.
Yeah, and then we went out and we did shows and we started doing shows. We started going to South America and started going to Japan and started doing shows. And Richie started building an audience in South America that today is not insubstantial.
Yeah.
And also, of course, his connections in Japan that worked really well. We even started going to Europe, and we would go to Spain, and we would go to the Canary Islands, and we would go to other places around Europe. We really worked it hard. We did three tours, each year. We did a world tour, or we went around all over the place. And we played together for 3 years.
That's cool.
And eventually, he decided to run with that ball. So he went off and did that. And but Richie's one of my closest friends.
It's crazy. It's crazy. This is a small world because we went to see Sauce Jordan last night.
Oh yes.
And I didn't realize this. My wife knew this because she's a huge Richie Kotzen fan as well. And
that's how I knew Richie, was through Sauce Jordan.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Well, she had mentioned, she goes, "Oh, Richie Kotzen wrote this song." And I was like, "What?" And you could tell that he had written this song. It was so good, but you could hear those guitar movements that he did. Like, you're just like, it's like, oh, that's totally a song that he wrote. So yeah, she was amazing, by the way. Like, she was incredible. And Saturday, we're going down to Pennsylvania to see Bret Michaels, and Vixen's opening, hence Richie's wife. So yeah, which is, it's a small thing. It's crazy.
I wouldn't want to carpet it, but it's a small world.
It totally is.
All these connections they're always there. I mean, and it's funny because friends tend to aggregate together.
Yeah,
always, and even in different bands. And Richie is, I'll call him up and I'll go, "Hey, can you throw a solo on this song?" One of the songs on this new record, he's playing a solo on.
Really?
And he's also very, he's very inspirational. When I was like, when Last of Mine took a hiatus, and I was sitting there going, "I'm not sure what I want to do," and he was the one who's like, "Hey man, just get these ideas and put them down. Just start writing them." And he was like, he was just being encouraging.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. I should do this." So I credit him for a lot of the encouragement to do the record that I've just done now.
That's cool.
We always work. We're going to write a couple of songs together as well in the near future. I've got a couple of ideas that are perfect for us to work together on. So
can't wait to hear.
Yeah, he's great.
He's amazing. I actually have a Kotzen guitar. I have one of the Tellys. Like,
oh, you do?
Yeah, I do, and I love it. It's a great guitar, and yeah, I'm just a fan of his playing and his music. I mean, he doesn't come up to Canada very often, so we usually go to him when he's in Detroit or in the area. So.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's only 4 hours for us, and he usually plays at a cool club because he's on that level where he's not too big, where he plays in a place where it's more intimate, right? And seeing him play like that, being right at the front, watching him is because he's such a performer and a player and a singer, and he's
amazing. I mean, we've known each other since probably the very, very late 80s, maybe early 90s, a long time.
Yeah.
And I know how much work he's put into that, and he's amazing.
Yeah. And what I always loved about his second solo album was the fact that, he's in that shredder, with all those shredder albums, right? But he comes out with this album with him singing on it, where all the other guys, it just set him apart from being this different thing than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, far be it from me to tell someone else's story, but he's from Philly, and he's got a lot of that Philly R&B thing in his blood, and where it comes down is when you start to hear that kind of influence coming into what he's doing, and that's what puts that spin on it, and it takes it to a new direction because you can be a shredder as a guitar player and play all this shredded stuff, but when you have also that melodic stylistic thing that's going on, that becomes very unique. It becomes very original.
Yeah.
There's always originality that comes when you blend two things together. And I've found that creatively, whether it's metal and a pop sensibility, or whether it's R&B with metal, or whether it's funk with metal. You bring these two different things together and you end up with something new. And that's always, I think, the adventure in playing with different people.
Yeah.
Whenever you play with different people, the combination will always bring something original.
Yeah.
When you work on your own, the hardest thing is to keep it original, because you find yourself repeating the same patterns over and over again. That's the hardest thing about this solo record, which I did, is I did not want to I was very self-critical. I was like, that sounds cool, but I've done that before. All right, ixnay that. Let's try something different. So that's what takes the time.
Right. That's amazing. Well, I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait till it comes out so I get to hear it. So anyways.
All right, well, I've sold at least one copy. Maybe it'll be a vinyl copy. Maybe it'll be the only vinyl copy.
Will it be on vinyl is the question. I always ask that question. Do you think it will?
I would like to put it on vinyl. Listen, our industry today has changed, and it has evolved into a new type of industry. We used to sell records. We don't sell records now. Now what we do is we present music, we give the music away, and we ask people to come to the show, buy a ticket, buy a T-shirt, buy a hat, buy a lighter, buy a headband, whatever it is. And that's how our business has evolved. Mm-hmm. And so, but I still think I love the collector's aspect of records. So it's very unreasonable to expect a record label to create a ton of vinyl albums, ship them all around the country, have them sit there, have them be returned if they don't sell, put up that investment. But that doesn't mean to say we can't create a limited run of records for our fans and make them available to them. So that's probably my goal.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just going to turn the computer so you can actually see that is in there as all my.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's all my vinyl. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, so I'll just add another one to it.
You have to move into a new facility, yeah.
Well, I'm actually out of room.
You're out of room. Right?
And my wife came down one day and she's like, "This column here, where did all this come from? Like this wasn't here before." I was like, "Oh,
One more album, we'll have to move house."
That's right.
Relocate.
Exactly. Well, Phil, thank you so much, man. It was a pleasure meeting you, and it was a pleasure talking. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I let you go?
No, not really. Just that, keep your ears peeled for our last line announcements that come up. But the record is very important to me. And so please stay on top of it. People can follow me on my Instagram. I've been very quiet on Instagram lately because I've been too busy doing this record, as you might appreciate. But all the news will be out there. And my record label is BraveWords Records. They're phenomenal.
Yep.
And so they're going to be doing a lot of publicity as well.
Love them guys.
So please keep an eye out, and hope you guys enjoy the record.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day. And hopefully we will talk again, and maybe I'll see you at
hopefully in person sometime. I hope we can come up to Canada sometime. We've been meaning to do so for a long time. Never managed to make that happen. So
that would be great.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that definitely would. Okay, well, hopefully we'll see you then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Phil, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
You take care.
You too. Bye-bye.